Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.
Fish Stripes Live, presented to you by Loop. We come to you tonight with yet another series preview. My name is Isaac Azout, joined as always by a great panel of guests. We have Kevin Barral, Noah Berger, Alex Carver, Eli Sussman, and our special guest, Navi, or as you can call him, Ivan. Thank you guys for joining us. Before we recap the Tampa Bay series and we go into the Atlanta Braves yet again, we'll begin by giving you a quick update on the roster moves that were made pregame. Marlins right fielder and $53 million man Avisail Garcia has been placed on the undisclosed IL. John Birdie is back with the team and he has been reinstated. Nick Fortes has been recalled from AAA Jacksonville. He will presumably become the backup catcher. And in case you missed yesterday's moves, Eric Gonzalez has returned to AAA Jacksonville. Joe Dunand and Peyton Henry have also been optioned back to AAA. Newly acquired Luke Williams has been added to the 40-man roster, as well as optioned to AAA. Paul Campbell transferred to the 60-day IL. And last but not least, Joey Wendell and Richard Blyer have returned from rehab and have also been reinstated from the IL. They're both with the big league team. John Birdie as well. Wendell and Birdie both in the starting lineup tonight. Good to see. And I guess we can start with that, how we can, how our thoughts on the roster move so far.
Yeah, unfortunately, Noah can't weigh in. It looks like
It's someone want to answer whether am I frozen?
Yes, bro. You
I
look
can't
you
see that.
well, at least his voice is coming through.
Turn off your camera and turn it on again, Noah.
A lot of moves that generally, like the bottom line is the team is a little bit better now than they were a couple of days ago with these guys coming back. Obviously, a lot of us are big fans of Wendell and the way that he played this year when healthy, finally back from that hamstring injury that he re-aggravated and came back. I thought realistically he might be gone until early June. So this was best case scenario for him. Birdie and Blyer. Birdie got off to a better start. Blyer not so much, but he has a long track record. And I mean, unfortunately, the surprise here is Avisail Garcia being the latest guy out for undisclosed reasons. We think COVID related. That seems to be the common thread with all these undisclosed cases that came out of nowhere. And just to be honest, he has been sucking it up this entire year. He's just been bad. He has been making the team worse. And now he's not going to be on the field. So whoever fills his shoes in the short term is going to be more productive. And you hope he takes as much time as he needs to come back physically and mentally to be the player that they thought he was going to be entering this year.
Yeah, and
we presume that it's going to be COVID. Yeah, but the team does not like directly say one way or the other.
Yeah, and you mentioned Avi's out, so it'll be BA in right field for now. I'm okay with the move. I mean, who else would he put at that point? I'd rather have De La Cruz in center than in right field, to be honest with you, because Jesus Sanchez fielding in center has been yikes. That's all we'll say. And you could recap it from that Kevin Kiermaier inside the park and then the Atlanta one. So, yeah, I mean, these moves are good. They brought up Nick Fortes, so he'll be the backup catcher now. This, I think, was corresponding the send down of Payne Henry, if I'm correct. So, yeah, interesting moves. I like them all. I'm glad Birdie's back, Blyer's back, Wendell's back. Wendell was arguably one of the best hitters before he got injured. So, good moves overall for the Marlins, and let's hope this actually helps the team.
Oh, and you know what? Kind of one of the consequences of Garcia all of a sudden going down with COVID is that it keeps around Astudillo. We thought that might be a very temporary move to have him up here, but now he seems to be the one that is the lucky beneficiary of that circumstance. That he's still around.
That's right. Before we get everyone else's thoughts on the roster moves, just a quick injury update. Jazz Chisholm is running at full strength and participating in full team workouts. Jesus Luzardo, unfortunately, is still not throwing a baseball. And Sixto Sanchez is up to 105 feet dry side mound work, whatever that means. But anything else that stands out to you guys? Noah, Navi, Alex?
I'll be brief on mine. You guys all know what I feel and how I feel about roster construction, so I'm not going to go into it. But the fact that this guy that they just traded for, Lucas Williams, is added to the 40-man roster over other guys that are in the minor leagues, I don't understand. He's been good in the PCL this year so far. He is the same age as Charles LeBlanc, who has been fantastic this year, and I think plays more positions and is eligible to play more positions than Williams. So I don't understand that particular move in terms of roster construction. And then I understand that they want to get Anderson into games because he's been pretty good. But another guy that is on the 40-man roster that they could have gone to is Gerard Encarnacion. This guy's on the 40-man. Why not? Why not pick this as a place to give him some time? Maybe showcase him a little bit if you're planning on trading him. Give him some at-bats. Let him get into some major league games. Give him his debut. That would have been awesome. But they didn't do it. Anderson, I guess, is going to be the regular right fielder now, right, with this happening. So, yeah, maybe, hopefully, Avisal is not out. Well, maybe in terms of production, but in terms of his health, hopefully he's not out that long. But, yeah, Uriar should have been here. And I think LeBlanc over Williams because he plays more positions. But whatever. You have a guy in minor league baseball that's hitting 333 and you don't call him up. He's kicked ass all year. He plays all the spots that he plays. Proved it. Should be here. Don't understand trading for a guy and then putting him right on the 40-man. But whatever. Probably splitting hairs a little bit, but I think they screwed up a little bit on those.
Let me split hairs on that again for just follow up on that. I understand the confusion and the frustration, but Lucas Williams was DFA'd. This was the equivalent of like claiming him. Instead they gave something to the Giants back in return. So you have to put him on the 40-man by obtaining him. So he was obtained, and the question of obtaining him because you have to put him into the 40-man should be in question, but not why did you put him on the 40-man after obtaining him is not a conversation because he has to be because by he was a DFA, he belonged to the 40-man, and now he goes into a 40-man because the Marlins said he's good enough for our 40-man. So just logistically, that's why it happened. But it's on the 40-man is active roster. He was opted to AAA. Whether or not they'll call Gerard or LeBlanc or whomever, different conversations will come up later. But and I agree, LeBlanc is killing it. Gerard has been doing well. I don't think they're. I've been vocal about it. I don't think they're long-term players. They're going to be successful players, but they're key role players that can play for you at this time and probably give you some good.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't know that, Navi, so thank you for sharing that information with us. I think with Jar, Alex, I'm with you. I would have loved to see him start in right field for Avi every single time, but I think the timing with Birdie coming back and BA on the roster and Wendell coming back also to play third base while making play short. There's just two other guys in the major league depth chart that probably trump Gerard at this time. Obviously, I wouldn't put Birdie in right field. He's got less, not the best arm for that spot, but they do have BA, and with Wendell back, I think there's just no room to play Gerard consistently in the starting lineup every day. So I think they're one injury away, hopefully, from us seeing him. Anyway, moving on to just, thoughts about the Rays, I guess. St. Petersburg, Miami, got swept. What most of us predicted. I think I predicted a split at least. Eli predicted a split. Some of you correctly guessed a sweep on Tampa Bay Rays. Just what stood out to you guys on that in that series? It
was all that we expected. Let's be honest.
Well, I'd say the one key difference that kind of caught me by surprise was how it blew up in Poteet's face immediately in that first inning. Like that's a game they actually stolen if Poteet was just like a middling job there instead of putting up a 5 spot in the first inning. And then that was a little insurmountable for the team at that particular moment. Other than that, it did go a lot according to plan. McClanahan is great, and he outpitched Pablo in that first game. Marlins, they did get a decent number of base runners, especially in that second game, but still not bringing them across quite as efficiently as you need to. Harold Ramirez, the star of the series, my guy stepping up when the lights are brightest, I guess. And I said it ironically. I think the lights are brighter in every other series that the Rays play, aside from the Marlins.
I don't know.
That was great to see. He hadn't homered all year, and then all of a sudden back-to-back games. So that may have been the difference really in that second game. Is Harold muscling up for a second straight night, probably hitting the longest home run of his career to that point. That ultimately was the difference between a possible one-run win and a one-run loss. And it's unfortunate, but the team was shorthanded. That's what we knew at that moment, and thankfully they got a lot of reinforcements between then and now that make me a little bit more optimistic moving forward.
Yeah, this is okay.
They fit about 7 games worth of wacky plays into the span of 2 games. There's an inside the park home run to immediately start the first game. There's Cooper, the play where the ball hits the backstop and goes all the way towards the third baseman. Cooper's dead to rights. You have the Soler hitting one just over the foul pole. Is it fair or foul? They have no idea.
Oh, that's why they said in-play runs, because it said they called it a home run on the game day when I was at the Heat game.
The umpire on the field called it fair, signaled home run. By the way, they were shorthanded on the umpires. The first base umpire left the game in the second inning. So the first base umpire, the second base umpire traded to the first base. So they only had 3 umpires. The third base umpire, really, Eli? That third base umpire signals home run, and as Soler's rounding first, the first base umpire yells to the third base umpire to call it foul. That he saw for sure that it was foul. So on the field, they changed the call to foul, then reviewed it, and the call stands as foul.
Boy.
They didn't have enough to overturn it to fair, but they overturned it on the field to foul. Weird.
Yeah, not a lot to like. Not a lot to like. I mean, Pablo Lopez giving up 9 hits. He's given up 7 runs in his last 2 starts. Before his last 2 starts, he had only given up like 5 all year. So it sucks. This whole series, and then Poteet, as Eli said, you don't know where you're going to get that, and that's the thing with these back end guys. Eliezer, now Poteet. These guys, Castano, these guys that they could call up. You don't know exactly where you're going to get. They could be okay, and then they could be like this. So with the pitching depth that this team has, that's not the direction that they should be going. They should be calling up guys that they know can win games on any of the 5 days that they pitch. So it sucks. Offense was meh in that series, so they were clearly outmatched, honestly. And I predicted a sweep. I think Matt did as well when he was on here. So yeah, pretty much saw it coming as we all said last show. But yeah, hard to really find a true positive. It's. I mean, I guess Anthony Bass had another scoreless inning, right? There you go. There's your positive.
I was getting. So my counter to not finding any positives, the bullpen was lights out. The hitters that you wanted to hit, Anderson was hitting. Sanchez was hitting, but he kept running himself into oblivion. There were hits to be had. Cooper kept getting on base. Stallings was hitting all over the place. Soler was hitting some nukes. With Wendell, Birdie, and who else is coming back? Blyer coming back. I'm a little optimistic that the team could put together a nice chunk of wins here. Right. These last 2 games were a little wacky, more than a little wacky.
Well, you have confidence in Blyer, Noah?
No.
Then there's your answer.
Wendell and Birdie, yes. Blyer, yeah.
Right. Well, it doesn't get any easier for Miami. They face a very tough team in Tampa Bay to face another tough team, defending World Series champion Atlanta Braves. I think one thing that stood out to me with Tampa Bay was just Shane McClanahan is just every bit as nasty as advertised. Holy cow, Miami had no chance in that game, even with the ERA at the time leader, Pablo Lopez on the mound. You just knew that Miami was never in that game. I wasn't able to watch much of Wednesday's game. I was watching the Miami Heat stink up the joint. But, Kevin, Navi, anything else that stood out to you guys in the Tampa Bay series in St. Pete?
I mean, if there's a series I really did expect the Marlins to lose, it was this one. I also said they would lose 2-0. Shane McClanahan is nasty. You said it. I mean, what did he strike out? 10? That was crazy. But, and something else that's fair to say with that inside the park home run, I think this was mentioned on the Valley Sports broadcast. Pablo was never able to settle in after that because, first pitch inside the park homer. I mean, come on. How are you going to settle after that one?
He he settled in pretty well. It's a good
Yeah, he
Rays
had a really
lineup.
wacky start.
It's a good Rays lineup.
Noah mentioned the wacky series. That's a really strange line that Pablo had. He actually pitched very well. Much better than his final line indicated. I know he gave up a lot of hits, but he was able to give Miami length, and he struck out 8. He had a pretty good start. It was just a very weird Pablo Lopez start.
And one thing I'll say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
But after the game, Don Mattingly said that Pablo looked. His stuff was there. Everything looked great.
Yeah.
It's just there were a few mistakes, and the Rays took those mistakes deep.
Yeah,
but honestly, that ball up to Choi was a changeup that just didn't move, and it got killed.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say on this is I don't think it's more. I mean, if there's one thing that I got out of this series is that Edward Cabrera needs to be a major leaguer, because as much as Cody Poteet was good in that Washington start, it was against the Nationals, not against a team like Tampa Bay, who just last year was in the ALDS, made the World Series in 2020. Edward Cabrera has been very good, or good enough in AAA to finally say he should be a major leaguer, and he did it last year. He could do it again this year. If Luzardo still isn't throwing, Eliezer isn't pitching to the best of his abilities, why not take a chance on Eddie and put him in there and keep Poteet in that long reliever role where he was just succeeding past anyone's expectations that they may have had for Poteet.
Yes. I mean, I think you may be disappointed in Cabrera. Honestly, he has not had his stuff lately in AAA. He just hasn't had it. I mean, second to last start was okay. He went 6 innings. I mean, look at his May. He lasted only 4 innings, and what, three of his starts were under 5 innings pitched. So I don't know. His control is a problem. His control is in and out all the time. For every start, his control is in and out. So he has a velocity. Yeah. Should he be here? I agree, Kevin. Yeah, probably yes. But I don't know. I think major leaguers are going to tee off on him because his control is not good.
Yeah, I respectfully am more optimistic on Cabrera, what I'm seeing this year compared to last year, doing some things, especially with his breaking balls, that I think are going to be more valuable in the big leagues that he just didn't have last year, especially with his curveball. And I got validated by Baseball America. Fangraphs. It was Eric Longenhagen of Fangraphs. He made a point to know about that curveball and how he's using it to steal strikes early in count. It doesn't need to be precise. It's just such a different shape of that pitch compared to his other stuff that I looking past the overall results at AAA, I think he's a better pitcher now than he was last year. And the key that you guys both brought up, I think Kevin and then Isaac before, is that Luzardo is not even throwing right now. He is weeks away from being a starter, at least assuming that's the plan to bring him back. It's going to take him a while to, again, stretch out after not throwing for several weeks. So that is why I think it would be appropriate to bring up Cabrera, where obviously you want him to perform right now. But but more importantly, once you call him up, you want to get a long look and really make an assessment as to whether he's going to be part of your future. I'm not guaranteeing that he's going to succeed. I'm saying that once you call him up, you want to give him somewhat of a long leash against several different opponents in different situations to understand what you got and what you don't. And if he does fail again, then you got to send him down again. All right. But ideally, it's under these kind of circumstances where Luzardo is out, where we know what we have in Eliezer, and with Poteet, somebody that seemed to take really well to being a reliever, and he could still contribute to the team in that role. So this is like the opportunity where, of course, if Max Meyer still, we don't know exactly when he's going to be ready to go. I think this is a great opportunity for Cabrera, and they are, for the short term, not in agreement with me on that. So that's annoying.
Yeah, no, I sorry, Isaac. I agree, Eli, that I agree with Kevin that he should be up. Like, for all the reasons that you just said, you got to see what you got, right? I'm just saying in terms, and yeah, he's done work with a couple of his pitches, as you said. Great. Awesome. I mean, he's growing for sure. But as I said, man, he can be very, very wild at times. He can hit or miss. He can really, really miss over the plate and get in trouble. It's a problem. But when he's going good, he's really, really good. And he is that top kind of prospect. So I agree he should be here right now, because who else you got? And where is Luzardo? Where is Meyer? Who knows? So yeah, for sure. He definitely should be here. But the results, I don't know if you can 100% guarantee effectiveness. That's all I'm saying.
I'm glad you guys brought up Edward Cabrera, because he did have a start yesterday on the 26th. Yes, yesterday, where according to Joe Frisaro, the AAA announcers were saying that his fastball velocity was down 92, 94. There's even one at 91. Again, with the minor leagues, we don't really know how accurate those readings are or can be. I don't know if Alex or Eli have any confirmation on that, because if that is the case, then we got a whole different issue to deal with.
Yeah, I'm not reading too much into that. He's a guy that, with his changeup, sometimes that looks like a fastball because it doesn't drop off. It doesn't have the conventional movement that changeup does. But what I'd say is that at AAA, they do have a precise TrackMan system. So I'm not sure whether those numbers came directly from TrackMan or from a handheld thing. But if it was from TrackMan, that's like almost the same level of accuracy that StatCast is in the big leagues. So I think we'll see in the next start, and it seems he's going to make at least one more start in AAA that we'll be able to see more closely as to whether that's an issue or not. Obviously, if his velo was down that much, that's a red flag because that's one of his carrying tools is he has plus velocity. He is usually sitting in the high 90s with that pitch.
Yeah, he had the velo in Durham the start before that. So I mean, if he makes another start, as Eli just said, and the velocity is down that low, then you got a problem. But I admittedly didn't watch that game last night in Scranton Wilkes-Barre. I'm pretty sure they don't have StatCast, so it must have either been TrackMan or some kind of other system, like Eli said, some handheld system. So I wouldn't put too much stock into it now. If he makes another start, like his next start, and he's down that low, then I would look at it and say, okay, yeah, that's a problem. But the last start before that, he had it. It was a really good start for him too. Struck out 11 guys. So I'm not that worried about that yet, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and just to finish off on Edward, 23 innings pitched so far in AAA, 23 and 2/3 actually. He struck out 32 guys, so the swing and miss stuff is there. But like Alex mentioned, the command, the control, he's walked 12 guys, 4.6 walks per 9 innings. That is just not going to translate to much success, but at least the swing and miss stuff is there, so you have some sort of floor there with him. The other, pitching conundrum Miami made was that Trevor Rogers is pitching tonight against Atlanta for, I think, the second time in as many starts. He was roughed up a bit by Atlanta when I was there covering the game in person. Dansby Swanson got him. Marcelo Zuna got him. Someone else got him. And it was just an interesting move because he was scheduled to pitch on Wednesday. So thoughts on that, on, having him face the same team again that honestly, historically in his whole career has really had has gotten the better of him.
He's never won against Atlanta. I think he's 0-5. He's 0-5, yeah. So interesting choice. The lineup's a little bit different this time around. Is Acuna in the lineup tonight?
Acuna is not in the lineup tonight. We'll get to that when we get to the lineup.
So that's an interesting there. Olsen's batting 6th for the first time, so the lineup looks different. Maybe he'll get a good chance here. They've played fairly well in Atlanta the first time around. They won 2 out of 3. So maybe they have some luck on that end. But yeah, you're right. Trevor's not good against the Braves. It was very weird that they took this, they pushed to start back. So we'll see what happens with him against the Braves this time around. Different lineup this time. So I'm a little bit more confident in Trevor. No Acuna, so you don't have to worry about that. But you still have Matt Olson, one of the best first basemen in the whole game. Dansby Swanson, who just destroyed. You're watching the clip of the home run there. Ozzie Albies, who's probably one of the best second basemen and a switch hitter as well. So, yeah, Trevor against Atlanta, not the best matchup you want to see, but I'm a little more optimistic because they play well in Atlanta.
It was Travis d'Arnaud, the other guy who got him.
Yeah.
Navi, your thoughts? Trevor Rogers facing Atlanta again.
I mean, yeah, it's concerning. You said second time in a row. I think this is the third in this season so far. I'm looking at the matchup right now for Braves hitters for Trevor, Marlins hitters for Ian Anderson. It's not great. It's going to be if it projects correctly, it should be very hitter friendly tonight. Braves hitters are hitting a 419 WOBA, 319 average against Trevor. Marlins doing very much the same thing, 409 WOBA, 340 average. So the both pitchers have struggled. Obviously, we want to be biased. We want to say that Trevor Rogers has bigger pedigree, but Ian Anderson came with a lot of pedigree, I believe, as he was called up in his first few years. We'll see. I mean, we just got to stick to it, see what he can throw out. He's not going to continue to hover at whatever his ERA is right now. It's going to get better. Might not be a mid to low 2s ERA like we would love, but he's going to be a good middle rotation for the right here. That's what I think, at least.
Yep, I'm with you. And, I guess now we can officially, unless it's, no, not yet, Luke, halftime show. But Eliezer pitched out of the bullpen yesterday. That was, all Marlins fans were kind of hoping and praying, like, hey, is this finally it, that Eliezer Hernandez has been officially taken out of the rotation? But no, he is scheduled to start on Sunday against the Atlanta Braves. Don Manley mentioned it was just to, not have so many days in between, throwing for Eliezer. Thoughts on him getting another start in the Miami Marlins big league rotation?
Just to call it out really quick, Isaac, I want to call this out because I read this earlier and I thought it was really good. Fish Stripes Daniel Hirsch, awesome article today on Trevor Rogers and the struggles that he's had. It was great. And everything that he mentioned in the article, we've talked about before. We've talked about the fact that he's tipping pitches with the lower arm angle on the changeup. We've talked about the fact that he cannot command. He mentioned in his article that he is not commanding the top half of the zone nearly as well as he did last year. It's all true. The guy looks way different. He's not the pitcher that he was last year, and it's very unfortunate. So he has a lot to figure out. Hopefully the extra day or whatever that they gave him, hopefully he did some work because he's got a lot to figure out against a very good lineup tonight. So go, if you guys have not read that article, it's on Fish Stripes. Go read it. It's fantastic. Really pinpoints what this guy is struggling with, and it's not one thing; it's many things. So it's a problem. See what happens.
With Eliezer, when they announced in the press box that he was warming up with a bullpen, the entire Marlins press corps all looked up and were like, what? And pretty much we're all speculating what's going on here. It was literally a buzz going on between us. And Giordano was the one that said, maybe it's just like a bullpen for him. And we're like, yeah. And Donnie ended up saying that it's just a bullpen for him because it was on 8 days. I think it's been since he last pitched.
Yeah.
But they kept saying that it's been a long time since people pitched. Why are you pushing Trevor back a start then? Why are you pushing Trevor back 2 days then? If everyone else is missing, if it's going to be so long between starts, why are you not having Trevor? It doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Yeah. To me, it didn't seem like the gap between the starts necessitated this. It's 8 days between starts, 7 days of rest. And it's only one more than Trevor is getting, as you mentioned. Like I felt was a weird explanation. I don't necessarily buy the fact that it was simply to get him ready to stay in a routine. I believe it was an audition for him as a reliever with them in mind that pretty soon he could be utilized that way. My educated guess of the situation. He did look good in that appearance. His velo was up, and his command is really more important than his velo, and his command was good too. It was a very impressive ending. Tiny sample, tiny but encouraging.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That it was encouraging what he did. So hopefully, let's see how this start goes in Atlanta. I think the last team he actually faced was Atlanta as well. So
I think if he struggles this time, sorry, Kevin. I think if he struggles this time, then we've said this before, but I mean, now that he's had a showing out of the bullpen, and it was good. I thought it was good. Like you said, velo was up. I thought he was effective. Where can you get the most value out of this player? It's not in the starting rotation. I have thought that for a long time. But if he struggles in this start, then and they don't do it, I'll be absolutely mystified. But I've been that way before about this organization. So,
yeah, and that's
we'll see.
That's the last thing I wanted to say. We've said this for like the past 3 weeks that this should be his final start. This should be his final start. It's not going to be his final start, most likely. And as much as I want to say that it will, and he will be a bullpen pitcher, and Edward Cabrera will be a major leaguer, it's not going to happen, unfortunately. I mean, this team is just hooked to Eliezer as a starter. The bullpen outing was good. If they keep that up, if he bombs this start against the Braves, then maybe they'll use him again in the bullpen in a week or two.
Yeah, it's just a shame because it's just not as obvious anymore. With Luzardo down and Meyer down and Cabrera not exactly being as nasty as advertised in AAA, Miami doesn't have that starting pitching depth that they had in the first month of the season, where there's like, why the hell are they actually having a laser start games? But now's a good time for Loop halftime show.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Be back in 30 seconds.
Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.
Welcome back to Fish Stripes Live, presented to you by Loop. We are here, Kevin Burrell, Noah Berger, Navi, sorry, man, I don't know your last name, Alex Carver, Eli Sussman. We're here to preview the Atlanta Braves series, defending World Series champions. Trevor Rogers on the mound tonight, facing Ian Anderson. Should be a fun matchup. Ian Anderson, has one of the best changeups in baseball. And Trevor Rogers, second in National League Rookie of the Year voting last year. So I guess we can start with the pitching matchup before we get to the lineups. Who has the advantage here? I know Trevor Rogers has been struggling, but Ian Anderson hasn't exactly been his dominant self either. So if you had to pick one, who do you give it to here?
Ian Anderson. I found it pretty simple. I mean, the last start I was there for his start against the Marlins. The last one he had against the Marlins was that Sandy complete game. He gave up a couple runs, but he was dominant. I mean, he went almost as much as Sandy. I think he went 8, if I'm correct, in that last start, and he was taken out, and they had to use a couple relievers there. But that was probably one of his better starts throughout the season. Trevor just hasn't shown me enough to say I'm confident in Trevor Rogers to beat the Atlanta Braves. I'll say I'm more optimistic, as I mentioned before the loop break, but no, I'm giving this one to Ian Anderson here tonight. The other two, I'm a little more optimistic.
Anybody disagree?
Nah, probably a bit too many walks for Ian Anderson, but he's been better in the month of May after his early struggles there in April. So I think he's been good most of the way here lately. Pitched into the 6th inning in every single one of his 4 starts in May. His last start was pretty good. I know he allowed 4 runs, 7 hits, but I think he's all right. And like you said, that changeup's freaking nasty. So yeah, you gotta give it to Anderson because Rogers just does, as I mentioned before, Rogers has a lot of things to figure out. So
yeah, he has been good in his last 4 starts, 22 innings pitched, has an ERA of 3.57, a FIP nearly identical at 3.67. He's been solid. He's gonna be a good pitcher for Atlanta for a long time. Now we can check out tonight's lineups with a few familiar faces back in there for Miami. Thank goodness, because Miami really did miss them. Leading off for Miami is John Birdie. He just got reinstated. Garrett Cooper, Jorge Soler, Joey Wendell, Jesus Aguilar, Brian Anderson, Jacob Stallings, Jesus Sanchez hitting 8th, and Miguel Rojas in the 9th spot. And for the Braves, no Ronald Acuna leading off, which, should be fire for Trevor Rogers. Dansby Swanson, and I should mention it's a groin injury, sort of a recurring injury for Ronald. That's why he's out. Ozzy Albies hitting 2nd, Marcel Ozuna 3rd, Austin Riley, Travis d'Arnaud, Matt Olson, William Contreras, Adam Duvall, and Travis Demerit.
Demerit.
I'm not sure.
I forgot him. He forgot how many outs there were last time they were in Miami.
Yes, that's right.
I should have remembered that. But you see the names, no Acuna. What stands out to you guys?
Well, it's a bummer that it's no Acuna and Jazz in the same game. I had a pick of them just to remind people that hell. People
I'll still pick Jazz. He'll be on the
love
bench.
these guys together, and that was from the last series when Acuna was in the lineup every day, but he was a DH every day because they were concerned about him playing on the turf. As you mentioned, a groin injury. This is now going to be the 3rd straight game that he's out as well with that. So with Acuna, people were surprised exactly how quickly he came back from the knee injury. And as it turns out, since he's been on the active roster, he's been missing quite a bit of games with these minor injury scares. I think he's missed 10 out of their 27 games at this point since he's been on the team, and that has left the Braves kind of shorthanded in these games as well. And that may contribute to the fact that the Braves are not really that good in the standings. There's a 1.5 game difference between these teams. The Marlins could conceivably be ahead of the Braves by the end of this weekend, despite how awful we feel that the Marlins have been performing. I think that's really what's on my mind coming into this game, is that the Braves are probably every bit as disappointing as the Marlins, if not a little bit more so, considering that people thought they would have a good shot at being, if not the very best team in this division, then certainly in the top 2. And to this point, they are a lot closer to the Marlins than they are to the Mets at the top.
Well, Kevin, Noah, Alex, Ivan.
Yeah, as I mentioned, this is an interesting lineup compared to the ones we saw before. I found interesting. I don't know if do they have 3 catchers on the roster or only 2? Because they're putting William Contreras as the DH. So I guess in the late game scenario, if d'Arnaud gets injured, I guess he'll take over. But I found that a little bit interesting that they put both catchers in that lineup. But besides that, no, this is a good Atlanta lineup. I mean, they're the World Series champs for a reason because they're good. And this is kind of they kind of got off to this start last season as well, to be honest with you. I mean, it was after the trade deadline where they really, really got it going.
That's our friend that stops by every stream. One of these,
one of our greatest fans.
One of these porn spam thing. I don't even know how to describe it, but I blocked them. So hopefully,
I was like, why'd you spotlight them? I was like, oh, the was blocked comments. Got it.
Finally.
But yeah, this is a good team. So they'll eventually get it
No,
done. And this is definitely a series they could do.
I will go the other way. I kind of agree with what Eli said. Like, they weren't the best. They're the champions. Sorry, they were the champions last year, but they weren't the best team last year. And I think the team is like the Braves is going to get exposed for not being as good as team as people think they are. I think the Marlins lineup is underperforming a lot of their expected stats. I think. I mean, the one game I recall a couple of days ago, I don't know, was the Rays series, so the series before, like they had something like 11 players left on base. I think it's just the small moments of those one-run games, like it'll come through. The bats will heat, and I think the Marlins could pull off wins this series. Braves team isn't as good as they are. Marlins isn't as bad as they are, so I'm confident in the Marlins series.
I'm just scanning the lineups. I just noticed the Marlins only have 4 guys hitting under 250, under 260. It's not, and no one's hitting under 200. It's getting better. Getting better.
That's because Avi's on
the
IL.
You can't
it's
say
because Avi's on the IL.
You can't say they're getting better when you say and your baseline is the Mendoza line. The Mendoza line is the Mendoza line for a reason.
I'm saying, but like
you can't just say that they're not batting under 200 because you're not playing.
There were more below it. They're bringing their averages up. Everyone's hitting more. Everyone's getting on base more. This team is starting to improve, but just not at the right times.
But Jesus Sanchez is starting to not improve.
We're not talking about him.
Right. He's cooling off.
That's
right. And then two of those 200s are positions that we know aren't known for their bats, which is Stallings and Rojas. So like you're expecting other
Stallings
things.
Stallings has been killing the ball.
Right. Yeah. But he's not. He's one of the 4 under 260 bats that you mentioned. That's why I mentioned the name. Yeah.
Well, they're lucky. I'll say this: they're lucky to get Wendell and Birdie back when they did, because if they didn't, this would be a huge problem tonight.
Dude, I saw. One second. Birdie against Ian Anderson right now is 5 for 9 with 4 RBIs in his career. So
it's not bad.
And the other thing I'll say, because Kevin, you brought it up, William Contreras. You mentioned the 2 catchers in the lineup, right? So William Contreras DHing, right? This guy has been really, really good lately. I mean, he had the 2-homer game against the Marlins, and since then he's been amazing. 282, 404, 692 in May, most of that recently. So why wouldn't you put this guy in the lineup? You got to put this.
I know. I found it interesting that they would put 2 catchers in there.
Yeah, sure. But that guy's hitting, so he's had a 5-game hit streak. You got to put him in. So,
I completely agree with you. I just found it pretty interesting that they had 2 catchers in there, and they
but also like with the DH, like if you have to take a catcher out, you slide that DH into catcher and you just lose your DH. Like it sucks to lose your DH, but it's not like you're like pinch hitting your catcher. You're DHing.
Right.
Okay, that makes more.
He's got more home runs than anyone on the Marlins except for Jorge Soler, and I think he's tied with
7 home runs.
You play your bats regardless of what position they come in.
Speaking of slugger bats, I'm just surprised we're here at May 27th. Adam Duvall has, his hot streak has not been activated yet. I'm very surprised. He's still slashing 195. He's slugging 279. His OPS is 547. For all the talk, of Avi and Soler and all the Marlins bats that have just not gotten going yet, Adam Duvall, everyone was really sour that Miami didn't retain him for the next year. They traded him for Alex Jackson. He has not gotten going yet. Is this a guy that you're really worried about if you're an Atlanta Braves fan, or is
watch it be this series?
Is this when he gets activated?
Watch it be this series. It's when the Marlins are in Atlanta that he usually has his breakout and starts his hot streak.
No.
Oh, and not only
that's true. Duvall's career stats versus the Marlins was ridiculous, but no. There's a reason that he was traded away. He's a remarkably average to like fringe average player. Like don't expect him to get red hot. 2021 was an anomaly. Don't look much into it.
Yeah. Well,
I
if I'm not mistaken, as of this time last season, I think he did have. I think it was that series in Atlanta. I guess I think that was late April actually. So he got going much earlier than where we are now. So it's been a season long struggle for him, which I was surprised about.
And if I'm correct, Adam Duvall, like the way I remember in 2021, it was like he had this hot streak and then he would just go cold, and then he would have another one and go cold. So that's the trend for him, at least from what I saw in that one half a year with Duvall. So maybe this is the series where he gets it going.
The other thing that really boosted his value with the Marlins is that he was so excellent defensively last year. And this year he's been playing a lot of center field for the Braves, and being able to capably handle that's no small feat. But by all accounts, he's not quite as spectacular as he was during that portion with the Marlins. And that's understandable for a guy in his age 33 season. For someone that is, in this position, he's playing almost every single day by necessity because Acuna is missing so much time, and because their other outfield options are players that you don't really know how to pronounce their names, like Travis Demerit and et cetera. They're leaning really hard on him. He's being miscast and he's not performing. And eventually, they'll have a tough call. Again, it's a really undesirable situation. It's a lose-lose just because they don't have a lot of confidence in their other outfield depth options either.
I saw this on Twitter too, that I think they put William Contreras on left field in one game this last series against the Phillies. I don't know if I just illusioned that or
giving him the Jorge Alfaro treatment.
Yeah, so I guess.
And just to share you guys, Adam Duvall's career against Miami Marlins, he hasn't been that good. He's hit 178 in his career against Miami. His career 686 OPS. I thought I'm with you now. I thought it was much better, but apparently he's just strong. I think he's just good against his former team when.
He's hitting 420. He hits 429 against Trevor specifically.
Well,
sorry to change the topic, but I'm beginning to get to the bottom of this mystery about why we're getting spammed. It's because there are multiple accounts that are spamming us. Look at the difference in the names. This is, hey, I'm waiting on you, 18 plus dating. And then this other one was fuck Tinder, visit us and be sure.
You don't even need to highlight it. Just
so they are different accounts. That's the thing. That's the thing. And now we have this. We're recording this. We're going to remember your names and we'll take whatever steps
They're just
necessary.
Gonna come. It's like the same. It's the same as the spam phone calls you get. They're gonna come back with different accounts every time. There's no real way to get rid of them.
But that's something I had
backup. Come on.
I had not noticed that before. That they were different.
Really, I noticed that as soon as you guys started getting spammed.
I had noticed as well, because every time I would block them as well, but new ones would come up with different names. Okay. So I guess just a final up on the Braves. Anything else that stands out? Any names or lack thereof? Dansby Swanson leading off. So I'm also a little bit up.
Why not? Guy's got a 9-game hit streak. Lead him off.
And he's the best looking guy in baseball too.
Yeah.
He's 100 percentile in odds above average. He's like one of the best defenders in baseball this year.
Yeah.
Not only that, I mean, Ronald Acuna isn't in there, so I guess that's the other place. And he's only let off, I think, four plate appearances. He's let off in 4 plate appearances. That's what I want to say.
I think you're saying Swanson. Yeah, he's only started at leadoff once before this year because he got off to a very.
I thought you were trying to say. I thought Kevin was trying to say that he only let off an inning 4 times, and I'm like, that doesn't seem right.
No, yeah, Eli corrected me.
So Swanson got off to a very slow start offensively in much of April, and since then he's been almost as hot as Contreras has been during the month of May. He has been awesome lately, and they have an interesting decision to make on him in the near future, whether they're going to actually lock him up for multiple years or whether he goes into free agency like Freddie Freeman did. He's not on the same caliber as Freeman, of course.
The only thing with him that you look at and it's like, oh, okay. And he's been amazing here lately. But the only thing I look at with him and I'm like, this is really not a leadoff hitter, is he strikes out a lot. He's got like a 32% strikeout rate. So that's the thing that I look at and I'm like, it's still 8% walk rate. So, and hitting. So why not lead him off, especially with Acuna out? So yeah, that's a good move.
Yeah, he's never had such a bad strikeout. No, I think this year is like his first year where he's really struck out a ton. Aside from his first few years, he was pretty bad. But the last couple of years, 2019 to their World Series year, he had been a pretty damn good ball player. Or had he always been a strikeout prone player?
Yeah, this is the first time. First time
this is his first time going over 30%. But he was the last 4 years, 22, 22, 26, and 25% strikeout.
Oh, that's delish. Nowadays, that's delish.
No, he'll bring.
Miami
I think he'll bring it down, especially as the contact comes up.
I mean,
as it's doing lately, So now he's leading off. Probably, he'll take that to his head and more patience. So that guy's a ball player, man. Plays amazing defense, hits. Not a ton of strikeouts, still walks, 8% walk rate. So yeah, that guy's a really, really good baseball player.
Don't forget, he went to Vanderbilt, and he's really handsome. He's a baseball player's dream for anyone that plays baseball in high school. Last thing we can compare with the Braves and the Marlins before we get into the last injury update and predictions, the bullpens. Atlanta just seems to always have this lockdown bullpen when it came to, AJ Minter and Will Smith, and now they have Kenley Jansen. They signed Colin McHugh. Miami's bullpen, aside from the ninth inning, has been pretty freaking solid. They've been reliable. We mentioned that in the Tampa Bay series, they were able to keep Miami in it. And a lot of the Braves series last weekend, the bullpen was able to do their job for the most part anyway. Who's got the edge there?
It's interesting because Miami's actually been able to get to the Braves bullpen pretty well, especially in that series against Atlanta. They got to it pretty well, especially late in the game. I think it was just yesterday on Jeopardy, one of that one against Atlanta. I think that was against an actual reliever. So it was that one game when it was just back and forth. So they've been able to get to it. They got to it last season as well in 2021, early in the season when it was that 4-game set against the Braves. But no, yeah, you mentioned it, Isaac. Besides the ninth inning in that Tampa series, the positive was the bullpen. I think it was Poteet who allowed the 5 runs. It was the 1-run loss, another one of those. We're used to them already, but Miami's bullpen did not allow a run, which is extremely impressive compared to what they had last season to this season. It's impressive what the bullpens have done. I do like Atlanta's bullpen a lot more, but you can't underestimate what Miami's done out of the bullpen. They just need to solve that 9th inning issue. Once that's solved, I'll be very confident about it.
Well, if Blyer comes back and is able to turn it around, then that's even better for the middle of the bullpen.
Exactly.
And maybe you can move somebody else in closing or try to close. But yeah, I mean, the 9th inning's a problem. We knew it was going to be that way when they didn't sign a closer. So, I mean, Bender's struggles suck. Now he's hurt. So, it sucks and that they can't figure out the 9th inning. But it all goes back to the fact that they were inactive in the offseason, and I'll say that forever. So, yeah, it sucks. Like this graphic says, they have no saves in May. Will they get one? Maybe not.
Maybe today.
Honestly, I would say probably not. But that would be interesting, and that would be a stat to look at and be like, what team has ever gone a whole month without saving a game in the current era?
I looked it up, and it would be unprecedented, at least in Marlins history. The Marlins have never played a full-length month with 0 saves in it, and so they have 5 more games to change that. But the formula is obviously you would lose most of your games, and when you do win, you actually win by pretty big margins, as this team does, as we know about the run differential. So this is, I would guess that they do win one close game between now and the end of the month and pick up a save. I have no idea. You just have no idea who's going to pick up that save at all. It could be Bass. It could be Sulcer. It could be Scott.
So I asked Don Mattingly about this after the game on Tuesday, and he basically said it's matchup based for the entire bullpen.
Of course,
they don't
it
have
is.
a closer.
Of course,
they don't have a closer because everything's matchup based. Because everything's matchup based these days, and nothing is ever certain. And Lord help me.
And like hey, remember last time we had a certain closer? It was Yimi Garcia, though. So how did that go? That was a roller coaster.
It was Brandon Kinsler.
It was actually Anthony Bass who was signed as a closer.
Right, and then lost the job after like 10 games.
Yes.
And then Yimi Garcia became the full-time closer until he was traded.
I'm not trying to remember about 2021.
You guys are correct. Anyway, this is sort of foreign waters for Donnie. He has always been that guy that likes to go to that one person. He always says in the spring training, we'll see. But he uses one guy. He likes to use one guy. And this year, he legitimately cannot have one guy because every guy that he throws out there inevitably diarrhea's all over the mound. So we're going to wait and see. Anyway, the last injury update I just want to talk about is Jazz hamstring. I think it was really smart of Miami to not play him in Tropicana. That turf is really crusty for hamstrings and for legs. So I think they did well by not playing him there. You would think maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday. Probably I would think he plays Saturday and not Sunday would be my guess. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or updates on Mr. Gisardo Chisholm.
It'll be over within the next 2 games. He'll probably be starting. He might come off the bench today or tomorrow, even. But don't expect him to be out this entire series.
Come on. I'm disappointed in you, Isaac. How are you going to say the only injury up there we're going to talk about is Jazz? Sixto Sanchez, 105 feet.
I mentioned
Hey,
Sixto
talked
Sanchez.
about it earlier. I want to hear about Sixto.
I mentioned Sixto Sanchez to 105. He is moving at approximately 5 feet
105.
per week. Which, hey, you got to.
That's faster than the 95.
Yeah. In some seriousness, I think once he gets up to 120, that would be the step that you finally go to the mound again. So it's one more increment that he needs to go. And then if he's good with that, then sometime in June, he should be throwing from a mound again.
Okay, so it's 105, 120, extended spring training rehab, or maybe FCL rehab if FCL has started by then, which it starts on, I think, the 6th, right? Is FCL season starts on the 6th or 7th? So
are we close to the draft?
Yeah, DSL and FCL starts early next month. And then you're talking about AAA rehab. So how close is he really? I don't know. Probably a couple months still away.
The answer is he's not.
I think you could see him maybe in September, possibly. If he's doing well in AAA, I think you maybe see him in September. But like you said, I really don't want to talk about that. Kevin, Santiago Chavez was added to the taxi squad, Mexican catcher.
Kevin's been begging for us to talk about this movie.
Okay,
no, because I saw it on Twitter and I was like, oh, interesting.
No offense to Santiago, you're a very nice guy. I talked to him in spring training. No one really gives a shit. All right, prediction time. Everybody's favorite part of the show. Miami Marlins play 3 games. Give me how many games the Miami Marlins will win and who will be the MVP based on win probability added. I have been shitty at this, so Kevin, go ahead and start.
I want to see what Noah has to say. I need to think this one through.
Whoa!
All right, no, let's start with Navi. Navi, give me your prediction and series MVP.
I mean, you have the graphic up on the leaderboard. This is my first time coming on. I don't come on here often. I don't put much effort into showing up on that leaderboard, so I'm just gonna be fun with it. I think the Marlins can get some wins. I think good bats will heat up, bad bats will not.
1, 2, or 3, and
you sound like Kevin.
Yeah, no. I think it's a sweep, and I think your MVP hero. I know it goes against my Miggy Rowe hatred, but I think it's Miggy Rowe. I'm gonna free with it. Alex is losing his shit, but
I'm gonna head out.
Jumped off the edge into the volcano.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm having fun with it.
Not only a sweep, but Miguel Rojas series MVP. It's just the lack. It's gonna be very tough.
By the way, I'd love that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Who did he say as his
Miguel Rojas.
I'm going to go with the Marlins take 2 of 3. I will not say which ones they win because God knows which ones they will win. I'll say they'll take 2 of 3, and I'm split between Dansby Swanson and Joey Wendell, but I'm gonna go with. Can I go both of them? Yeah, can I go both of them, please?
Dude, pick one. Let's go.
I'm gonna go Joey Forearms, but I really want to go Lieutenant Dansby too. But Joey Forearms.
All right. I love Dansby Swanson. He's so dope.
He's awesome.
Kevin.
I don't like these pitching matchups for Miami, especially that Sunday start. I'm going to go with the right prediction, but my gut says 2 or 3. But I'm going to say they will lose 2 or 3. They'll lose the Trevor start and the Eliezer start. I think they'll win that Sandy one. Series MVP, I'm going to go William Contreras. The guy's been lighting it up. Why not?
Beautiful. William Contreras. I like that one, Kevin. Mr. Eli Sussman.
I have the Marlins losing 2 out of 3 in this series. I was excited to see Jazz back. He's not back. I wish we could expect a nice bounce back performance from Trevor Rogers, but I'm kind of on the fence about what to expect from him. And you know how I feel about Eliezer Hernandez and this whole bullpen. Yeah, I feel like this should be a winnable series if they were putting the right players on the field and if Jazz was obviously able to be on the field at 100%. But I do think the game that they win, this is my bold prediction, they do pick up a save. They're going to get 1 save this weekend. Let's give it to
choose which pitcher.
I'll give it to Sulser. I think it's Sulser who's going to get that save. So
Anthony Bass got snubbed again.
Only 1 win this weekend for the Marlins, which would drop them to 7 below 500. My series MVP is going to be Matt Olson. Solid player, safe player. Big series.
Like it. as always, the two leaders in the prediction leaderboard, Eli's husband, Alex Carver. Alex Carver, give me your series prediction. I already know where you're going with this, and give me your MVP.
I'll say that they win one game. I'll agree with Kevin. I'll agree with Kevin and Eli. I'll say they win one. That pitching matchup, I think tomorrow is very lopsided. You have Sandy against this guy Tucker Davidson, who has a blown-up ERA. I think he's a prospect. So I think they win
all over again.
I think they win that one. It's a lopsided pitching matchup. We don't have Jazz, or Marlins don't have Jazz, but they don't have Acuna. So everything together, I think they can win that one. I think it'll be a close game. I think I agree with Eli though that maybe we see a save, maybe, just maybe. See what happens. But my series MVP, I'll go with. I was going to pick Acuna, but he's not starting tonight. Probably won't start at least 2 games of the series, I don't think, with his injury. So I'll still go and make people hate me again because I did it last time. So I'll do it again this time. I'll go with Marcelo Zuna as the MVP.
Ew. What a capital.
You can leave.
That's a great pick. I was looking at the numbers, and he plays very well against our pitchers. That's a great pick.
Yeah. I was gonna go with Miami 2 out of 3, and because they're gonna win Saturday's game, and I think that they're gonna win one of either Friday or Sunday. Always those Sunday games in Atlanta, they're down to the wire, and sometimes they pull them out. Their first time in Atlanta this year, they did pull it out. Miami wins 2 out of 3.
I'm impressed.
And Jorge Soler is the MVP.
Soler has been picked a lot for MVP this year, and he never wins it.
He's been picking it up batting wise.
Yeah. He's had good games,
crushing the ball.
Still not quite enough production in those high leverage spots that really matter.
I think there's a chance.
By the way, had that ball been called fair for that home run in Tampa Bay, for sure he wins. He wins the win probability added for last series because that ties the game.
Maybe. Anyway, I think there's a chance they win tonight. I know Ian Anderson is tough. He's a good pitcher, plain and simple. But Miami, with a little chip on their shoulder, 2 important bats back in there, there's a chance they win 2 out of 3.
And I have one last thing to say, and this is definitely an overreaction from some. But if Miami loses this series, I think it's over. Like, you can't fall that many games under 500.
That was like 2 weeks ago, dude. Where have you been?
Oh no! I'm an optimist. Eli knows this. You guys all know this. So.
I don't know what that makes.
Especially you. I don't know how you haven't gone against the Marlins this season. I'm very surprised. But if they get swept or lose 2 out of 3, I think it's over. There would be 9 games under?
7.
7. Yeah.
They are 7 games under 500.
There's 6 right now.
There's 6. There's 6.
3. There you fall to 7.
But hey, if they sweep, they're 3 games under, and I'm a big optimist.
As you guys can see, our math skills are phenomenal here on Fish Stripes Live. I think that'll do it for us. For Kevin Barral, for Noah, for Ivan or Navi, for Alex, for Eli, for myself. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, go fish.
Why bother with empty shelves at retail stores, waiting 3 days for a break to fill, or driving across town to find out your hobby shop closed at 4 when you always have a card show in your pocket? With Loop, you can instantly buy cards, packs, boxes, or into auctions with the click of a button, and do it all while chatting with some of the best personalities and the best community in the hobby. Download the Loop app now on iOS or Android. Loop, a card show in your pocket.